r/AskReddit. Therapists of Reddit. What is the number one thing parents did to screw up their kid, so they had to seek help in adulthood? Teaching them that failure is unacceptable / a sign of laziness, or that they just didn't want it enough. It results in people who can't take no for an answer, or stay at terrible situations, because that's what they've chosen, so they have to make it work. Therapist here. LMFT. Probably the biggest and most common fuck up I see is parents shaming their child for having their own identity and personal interests separate from the parent or parents. Just support your kid and don't try to force them to be someone they're not. Don't call them weird or tell them their likes are stupid. Show interest in the things they like and let them teach you about those things. Also, don't take it personally if your child is not an exact replica of you. Kids are human, and like all humans, despite all our similarities, there are vast differences as well. You can learn to celebrate and value those differences, or everyone can be miserable. Constant invalidation. You shouldn't feel sad. You are being too hyper and that is why you are being punished. Seems innocent enough even without context. Shouldn't feel sad is a problematic statement though. People feel what they feel, no matter the context, so you need to talk to your child. Why are you sad? Is it because you are being punished? Timeout won't last forever. You only have 1 minute left. I still love you blah blah blah. Whatever works for your family dynamic, but children need to be able to appropriately label their feelings from a young age. I'm sad because I didn't get what I wanted. I can do better in the future and maybe get what I want. Boom. I'm out of a job. Hint, there are many parents who cannot do this, and they cannot teach their children to do it either. I used to work as a counselor. The thing that stood out the most to me was the number of people, usually women and the oldest female sibling, who were saddled with the leftover parenting duties the actual parents couldn't handle, whether it was babysitting all the time, being the parent's shoulder to cry on, being responsible for all of the housework, dealing with the financial burden of raising a family. This led to wonderful smart young women who were so used to caring for everyone else, being the rock, that their teenage years / childhoods were essentially non-existent and their adult relationships suffered as a result. From memory it's called parentification. And it is incredibly unfair young people find themselves in this type of situation. It'll get buried, but I'm a psychologist and my answer is shame. Making them feel ashamed as a disciplinary technique is one of those things that can blow up a minor issue into something that really sticks with you. Worse still when it's concerning sexual and biological processes. Worse even still when it's concerning things the child can't help. Therapist here. Not being emotionally available to the child. The child needs love, recognition and the feeling of security. Even good parents who are unable to be emotional available or show feelings can negatively impact the child. Not only will the child not have their feelings responded to or reciprocated, leading to more dysfunctional coping mechanisms, they won't have the blueprint of how to soothe themselves or their own children in time, perpetuating the experience. Parents asking where the 20% is when you got 80%. Like never being good enough. I'm a family therapist, and scapegoating is what I see as the most long-lasting for any kid. Imagine being in a family, and everyone is essentially doing similar things you're doing, but you are 100% blamed for the dysfunction. It makes kids feel worthless, and have a long-lasting complex of not being good enough as they essentially try to appease parents that just won't ever see their value. Not a therapist, but close friends foster children. Their mum had 2 kids, boy 1 and girl 3. She didn't feed them or clean them at all. So when they came to my friend's family, they would always gorge on food and eat anything and everything that came their way because they were never sure about where and when their next meal was going to come from. One time, we caught the boy sneaking around the kitchen making himself a bowl of cereal without anyone around because he didn't want anyone else to share it. It's extremely sad to see, because they are such sweet kids, but become feared around food. Edit. Another thing about these kids is that the older girl fights her brother for food. When they are given some to share, she will try to take it all because she was raised in such a fight or flight situation. Psychologist here. Bringing an abusive new partner into the child or teen's life and then choosing the partner over the kids. Second place, not repairing by apologizing when you made mistakes as a parent. I'm surprised this isn't higher up, it's so common. Inconsistency. For instance, I love point you my child, come to me with all your problems and talk to me about anything because I will always be here for you. You want to ask a question child? Fuck off, I'm busy, not interested, don't care, or don't think it's important. Why won't you talk to me child? You are so secretive and refuse to open up to me. You were 5 minutes late home child. In your room now. You are grounded and not to be spoken to for a month. Hope you enjoy your own company. Cue parental complaints to everyone in child's life as to how broken their child is because they prefer to spend their time in their room and won't communicate anymore. Why is this so relatable? From what my therapist told me, destroying their privacy, barging in on them, stealing their door, leafing through their diary, going through their phone, snooping through their computer. Children have as much a right to privacy as anyone else, and children are not the playthings or slaves of adults. This is the best way to completely and utterly destroy all trust between you and leaves them vulnerable to future abuse. It's a common theme among domestic abuse survivors. Only rewarding success rather than effort. It makes people feel that it's their fault when things go wrong. If your kids are doing their best, recognize their hard work. Raise them to know that trying their best is far more important than raising them to win everything. Invalidating a child with disabilities and expecting them to act, behave, or do things normally is what fucked these kids up into adulthood. Oh, you'll be fine. Just walk like him. You're not disabled, says the parent to a child who clearly has CP. If you would just train your brain to hear things you can hear. Don't ask us now, we'll tell you later, says the parent to a deaf child. Look, daddy didn't mean to touch you there. He didn't know any better. Besides, it's your fault for walking around in underwear, says the parent to a child who's being sexually molested. I'm a therapist working at University of Rochester. Telling them that they're too sensitive or overly sensitive. It teaches them that their feelings aren't valid and that it's not safe or appropriate to emote. They usually grow up not feeling safe or confident enough to express their emotions and then find themselves feeling incredibly resentful because the domino effect is that they don't get the support they need throughout life. Stop telling your kids to suck it up because feelings make you uncomfortable. Lately I've been working with almost exclusively men. One thing that they often have in common is that they don't have or understand unconditional love in their lives. They feel like their parents loved them, but that it was always conditional on them succeeding in some particular way. For instance, grades in school, excelling in sports, making money. They struggle with feelings of worthlessness, in part because they feel like they can never be satisfied or lovable based on their achievements, even when, by most standards, they are successful people. When boys and men fail, I think it's important to let them know that they are still worthy and that you love them no matter what. I think you can do that while also encouraging them to try again and be better. Never saying no to them. Entitlement is at an all-time high. It really is. I work with the general public and the entitlement is utterly insane. A lot of Indian parents force their kids into competing with random, mostly non-existent, people. Apparently some guy down the block has a kid who came first in some competition, so you have to win it next time. This confuses the kids and never lets them dream for themselves. If the kid is a timid one, they'd be forever caught up in a loop of trying to satisfy their parents. I could go on, but the fact is people in the West are really open and understanding in how to raise a child wherein the child understands it's okay to be wrong and try to figure out how to get better. Here, people raise kids in a toned down form of dictatorship, may get results, but screws up the kids forever.